Just let me check I'm in the right place in Instagram and all as well. I am a little bit. I think that should be better. All right, how are you? How's your Monday going? Good? I hope it's going well. Fine if it's not. Not every day goes well. I understand that. We're going to do some meditation. This isn't a class. It's just a chance to meditate together. If you're new to meditation, or if you're new to meditation, I'm going to explain what I do. So if you're used to meditation, can you just hang on while I do that? These meditations are part of the further emergence work I do. So if you're curious about that, I'll explain all about that when we're finished the meditation. So there's lots of different types of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of me that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, a bit after dreaming, you know, so I'm dreaming and then I drop out the bottom of dreaming into deep dreamless sleep, where I have no thoughts, no feelings, no emotions, no personality, no memories. I don't really have a body, don't have a bed, don't have a bedroom, don't have anything. I just disappear. Even I disappear. Certainly in the way that I normally register my existence. I'm not there. Which, when you add all that up, that sounds awful, doesn't it? That sounds like death. Yet, I love going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go to, it's a good place. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So straight away, first tip, don't try this lying down. If you lie down, there's a good chance that you'll fall asleep. Because from your body's point of view, it's like I'm lying down, I've got my eyes closed. It's sleepy time. So you'll either fall asleep or you'll battle sleep, both of which are not really what you're aiming for with meditation. So yeah, I'd encourage you to sit up. You don't have to sit in a lotus position or anything like that. I'm just sitting in a chair. The main thing with the chair is that it's not a big comfortable armchair, or you're just into the whole sleep thing again. So yeah, sit up in a slightly uncomfortable chair. So as I said, there's no thoughts in this place. My mind can't seem to go, or doesn't go, to the place that I meditate in. It's almost like when I meditate, I go into this room and my mind has to wait outside the door. And from my mind's point of view, it's just boring. It's really boring. So I need to make sure that my mind is on board for the process of meditation, or it'll just keep knocking at the door all the time. It's going to knock at the door anyway, but you know, having your mind on board minimizes it. So what I do is I make an arrangement with my mind. I say, can you just not think for the next 15 minutes? And at this stage, my mind is used to the whole thing. So it's like, yeah, fine, meditation, okay. Now, having your mind on board is important, but if it's the first time you ever meditated, your mind's going to be on board anyway, because it's like, ooh, meditation, ooh, new, exciting. Because mind's like new and exciting things, so it'll be on board. Having your mind on board only really becomes tricky when you have been meditating for a while, or you're trying to establish a long-term meditation practice. Then there's no novelty in it anymore for your mind, and it can get tricky. But I'm not going to go into that now. I'll answer some questions about it at the end if you have any, but for now I will just say have your mind on board. That's important. Next thing, stop thinking. Now, stopping thinking is relatively easy. The tricky bit comes with maintaining the stop, but to stop is easy enough, because regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be like the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. Sound meaning internal sound, conversations, commentaries, monologues, you know, all that inside stuff. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it. I'm not thinking. And as soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel with the intention of meditation. So the intention of my meditation is to go to that deep, still, calm, profound. I'm trying to think of all the words that I use to describe meditation. Zen-like, you know, that place. That's the intention of my meditation. The practice of my meditation pretty much starts as soon as I stop thinking. So generally it goes, I turn off the pictures, I turn off the sound, I bring myself to not thinking. Then some time passes, I discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, I'm thinking again, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes, I discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, I'm thinking again. I turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes, I discover I'm thinking again, and so on. It's pretty simple. Every time I discover I'm thinking, I bring myself back to not thinking by turning off the pictures and the sound. And it's important to know that thinking can happen in meditation, because it's quite easy to get the misconception that to meditate correctly, in inverted commas, I shouldn't be thinking at all, which isn't the case, not in my experience. Thinking can happen and it's fine, it's part of it. The main thing is every time it happens, you just bring yourself back to not thinking. And there's no right amount of times that you should be bringing yourself back from thinking. You could meditate in the morning and you might only have to bring yourself back from thinking a couple of times, and then 10, 20, 30 times, something like that. So not a lot. In 15 minutes, that's not a lot. Then you might meditate in the afternoon. You might have to bring yourself back hundreds of times, 200, 300 times. It's easy for your mind to kind of come in, which is funny, because if your mind is outside the door of this room that you go into, it doesn't really know what's in the room. Yet it will be outside the door going, oh, that was a terrible meditation. That wasn't very good at all. So your mind thinking about meditation or commenting on it is just another thought, and it's, the thinking, there's two parts to the why meditation is powerful. One is like when you're, very still. When I was talking about the intention and the practice of meditation, they sort of weave back and forth. Sometimes you'll be very still, and sometimes you'll be discovering that you're thinking. And both are powerful in their own way. It's kind of obviously powerful when you're very still, because you can feel changes in your nervous system, your body starts to settle, your breathing starts to settle, and you can have feelings of, this is very deep. Now, and that's lovely, but it's also very powerful when you're discovering that you're thinking. It's just not so obvious that it's a powerful thing, because generally, if you're like me, the sort of things that you think about are all to do with you. Meaning, I'll be thinking, what am I going to do about that thing? And why did that person say that to me? And why did I say that to that person? And so on. Now, if I'm in the middle of meditation, and then I'm in the middle of one of those thoughts, and I realize I'm thinking, I go, oh, thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Indirectly, what I'm saying to myself is, that thought that you were just having, the one that you thought was you and that you were it, well, you just made that disappear. So you're obviously not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. That's very powerful. And then the fact that you do that repeatedly is very powerful as well. So as I said, the main thing is, every time you discover that you're thinking, if you bring yourself back to not thinking by turning off the pictures and turning off the sound, if you do that, you're doing great. Now, while all that is going on, I'm also becoming a bit more conscious of my body and tension in my body. And what I'm doing is I'm scanning my body from my head down to my feet and back up again. Now, I'm not thinking. This is not a thought. It's more, I'm just checking in the sensation in my body, which is I'm not thinking about it. It's not like I'm imagining a scanner or anything like that, but I'm just putting my attention on different parts of my body and just seeing if they're tight or not. And anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out breath to let it go. Because number one, it's very natural to just breathe it away. But it's also a handy way of being a little bit more conscious of my breathing. Because with all the thinking, not thinking, and all that sort of stuff, it's quite easy to hold your breath in meditation or to stop breathing altogether. So using my out breath is just a very handy way of becoming a little bit more conscious of my breathing and breathing a little bit deeper. The other thing is, as I'm scanning my body, I'm spending a little bit more time on any structures that go across my body. Mostly my body runs longitudinally, head to toe. Anywhere that goes across acts a little bit like a log gone across a stream. It picks up all the leaves and the twigs and the branches and everything that's coming down the stream. Except in my body, that's tension. So I spend a little bit more time on my eyes. They're a transverse site. My jaw, my tongue, the base of my neck, my shoulder girdle. All my joints are transverse sites. So my shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, my heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, they're going everywhere. My pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is very helpful when you're starting out meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is sound. And then as soon as you close your eyes to meditate, your hearing amplifies. So the quieter the room you have, the best chance you'll be giving your brain, your mind, no triggers to think. And the other thing I do to help my mind not get triggered to have thoughts is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. Because without a timer, my mind will be going, oh, that's definitely 15 minutes. Definitely. This is only like 2 minutes in. Definitely 15 minutes. I think you should check your watch now. That kind of thing. Now I'm going to set my my timer for 15 minutes. But if this is the first time you've ever meditated, I'd encourage you to set yours for 5 minutes and then repeat that 3 times. Because even with a timer, your brain, your mind will come in and go, around the 7-minute mark, it'll go, no, I don't think you set the timer correctly. I think you should check, or something like that. And then you'll be back and forth, which is kind of like your mind bringing you out of the room. Okay, so let me just get my timer going. Okay, off we go then into the mystery. that's time. So further emergence is to do with growth, inner growth, growth in consciousness, growth in awareness. You could call it spiritual growth, growth on the inside, because your body stops growing when you become an adult, but you keep growing on the inside. That doesn't stop. That doesn't stop for your whole life. You only have to think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's obvious that you keep growing. And just like when you were a child, you might have gone through periods of accelerated growth. You know, they're called growth spurts. You go through those on the inside as well, and they continue for your whole life as well. Growth spurts, inner growth spurts. The big difference, though, between an inner growth spurt when you're 45 or 55 or 65 or 25 and a growth spurt when you're a child is, if you are going through a growth spurt as a child and you go to your parents and say, oh, my shins are killing me, I've got pains in my shins, or wherever you're getting the growing pains, your parents don't rush you to hospital. They don't even call the doctor. They just go, oh, I know it's difficult, but it's just natural. They're just growing pains. You're going through a growth spurt. It'll pass. When you're going through an inner growth spurt and you're an adult, whatever age, 35, 65, 75, it doesn't matter. It's much harder to know that it's natural and that it'll pass. There's a much bigger space to feel like there's something wrong with me, this isn't natural, and this is never going to end. Because, growth spurts are inner growth spurts. They can show up in lots and lots of different ways. Everything from, at one end you get very physical kind of symptoms, nothing life-threatening. Sometimes they can be, but mostly not. But they can really put your life on hold, and you can't get any strong, clear medical answers for what's going on, but they still persist. At that end to at the other end, just feeling, almost like you wake up one morning and you don't fit your life anymore. Nobody gets you, and you don't get anybody, and you feel like a stranger in your own life, and everything in between. So the main focus of further emergence is to support growth, inner growth, and then specifically those times when the growing speeds up, those inner growth spurts, and it can be really difficult. And there's a few different ways that I support people in that. These meditations are one of them. Meditation is just far and above the most efficient way of dealing with inner work in general, I have found. Because the more familiar you are with your inner space, the easier it is to navigate these difficult growth spurts. So meditation is great. And they're on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 3 o'clock Irish time. I only do the explanation bits on Monday. Wednesday and Friday we just meditate. So they're very good. And I do that because sometimes, it's not like, the idea of having an accountability partner is very nice. It's not like I'm holding anybody accountable, but just to kind of know, oh yeah, John's doing it, I'll go and do it with him. It's just a little landmark. Because sometimes the hardest part of meditating is just sitting down to do it. Once you're sitting down, you put the timer on, it's pretty much job done. But it can be hard to stop and do it. So that's why I do these. I work with people one-to-one as well. And I do that because the way that an inner growth spurt can sort of show up can be very different. It can be so different from one person to the next. So I've gone through for lots of inner growth spurts myself, and I've helped lots of people go through them as well over the years as a craniosacral therapist. So the one-to-one work is a way of getting very specific feedback about your situation and what you're going through. And it's just very helpful to have somebody to kind of walk along a difficult stretch of the road with. A stretch of the road that maybe other people wouldn't really understand. Then there's a retreat. We have a retreat at the end of every month. And they're sort of a half-day affair. We do longish kind of meditations. I do kind of talk through them though. And then there's questions and answers and talking and sharing and just you get a sense of, oh, I'm not on my own with this. There are other people who are going through something similar. And they're very helpful. And then from those retreats, we get the podcast, the audio from those retreats makes up the podcast, except for the odd interview that I do sometimes. Or little snippets of them are on the YouTube channel. So you can go and look at those or listen to that to get an idea of what the retreats are like. What else? Books. I've written 4 books, all around the subject of further emergence from different perspectives: health, existence, reality, all that kind of thing. So, if you're still with me, if you've listened all the way to the end, if you've watched all the way to the end, maybe some part of you is going, yeah, there's something to this. Then I'd encourage you to let that part of you, the part of you that's saying, yeah, there's something to this, it will know what the next thing for you to do is. Whether it's just keep doing the meditations or get in touch for some one-to-one work or come to a retreat or listen to the podcast or watch some YouTube videos or read a book or none of the above. That part of you will know. Okay, so thanks very much for meditating with me, and I'll see you on Wednesday for some